Before we get into the review, first off, thank you so much to Amazon and Sony for the free pre-screening. I was trying to think what was involved when I get one of these. It means a lot. Thank you so much. And so let's move into the review. So if you saw my trailer reaction a few months ago, you know I wasn't the most enthusiastic about this movie. I went into this with my expectations pretty low, but this movie was a pleasant surprise. I actually really enjoyed this movie. It's not as good as the first one, but it's decent. Especially because the other two sequels were kind of hit or miss, but you'll get to hear what I mean by that when I put out my ranking video on Friday. And honestly, I thought this movie was a lot of fun. And as hit or miss as the plots of these movies can be, the one consistently good element to them is the animation. The animation in these movies is always very expressive, it's always very fast, and that really shows here. And it's interesting because, I'm probably going to butcher this name, but Gennady Tartakovsky, or however it's pronounced, he directed the other three films, but he did not direct this one. He still wrote it, he stayed on as executive producer, but he didn't direct it. He sort of gave that job to someone else, which is appropriate, because without really getting into heavy spoilers, one of the themes of this movie is sort of this passing of the torch. So it's interesting that that's one of the themes of this movie, and he sort of still stayed on to supervise because this franchise is still very much his, but he gave someone else permission to direct it and do whatever they wanted with it. And I think the directors of this movie actually did a pretty good job at preserving his style and feel, and the writing was actually kind of decent. There were actually quite a few jokes that got a big laugh out of me. Like, this isn't a spoiler, this is all in the trailer, but there's a joke about how all the monsters become human, so there's sort of this running joke about how now that the Invisible Man is a human, and now that they can see him, he's naked. So it's this sort of awkward comedy throughout the movie with the other monsters realizing that the entire time they've known him, he's been naked. And they never put that together, and so it kind of gets a bit awkward. I won't say anything more than that, but that was kind of a really funny running joke throughout the film. And the green blob monster, all the other monsters sort of become human versions themselves, but the green blob monster becomes a plate of Jell-O. Like, just Jell-O, and that was actually really clever. Now, what does kind of hold it back is that, like I said, with my trailer reaction, as much as I enjoyed the film, the story wasn't necessarily the strongest. It does kind of feel like they're borrowing a little bit from Shrek 2 with the idea that the monster wants to impress, or the human, they sort of switched the Shrek 2 narrative about, where Shrek 2 was the ogre or the monster wanting to impress the human father-in-law and sort of feel like he's not worthy to be part of the family. It's now the human trying to impress the monster father-in-law and trying to be part of their family, saying, like Shrek becomes a human and Johnny becomes a monster, and they also sort of make a joke about how it's kind of the same plot as Freaky Friday to some degree, so even they know it's not the most original story, but like I said, even though the story wasn't necessarily the strongest, I still did kind of enjoy it, though it did sort of reiterate the same themes as the other ones about, accepting people the way that they are, not judging by appearances, sort of the same thing that's sort of been reiterated over and over in all the other movies. It's not really saying anything new, it's not doing anything, crazy different for this franchise. It's not reinventing the wheel with these movies. It's not breaking any new ground. So it is still very safe plot-wise. But that being said, it still had some fun ideas. I do feel there was effort put into this. I still very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I would still recommend it. And so overall, I would give Hotel Transylvania Transformania a B, an 8 out of 10, and a 4 out of 5 stars.